There was a light footsteps behind them. There was a light footstep behind them. He pushed his glasses and asked Lindsay and Shaniwei who I was. I didn't mean to eavesdrop. I just happened to hear you didn't mention the church. And I am the person in charge of marriage in church. May I help you? Lindsay grabbed Shaniwei's hand and replied, We are a newly married couple. We want to register here and make an appointment. A sudden close contact made Shaniwei unprepared. Shaniwei was caught off guard and blushed and nodded repeatedly. Maria heard it, defining themselves as a couple without approval. They are young and don't know the weight of marriage. So she waved to Lindsay and the other two to follow and said I would confirm with the jury whether you are qualified to be a legal couple. Do you have money? Do you have a house? Nothing. What do you have to marry a wife? Just with your sincerity? No, I have a big and spacious house. It's not only open air, and there are many tombstones around. The location is in a no man's land. It can be called an open-air cemetery view room. Lindsay was at the Church of Tiu in the Lox Kingdom, registering marriage with the goddess Shaniwei. Was being interrogated by Maria, the marriage director, and was interrogated by the jury whether they are qualified to be a legal couple. The jury asked a fatal question. A good material foundation is the guarantee of marriage. Lindsay and Shaniwei replied immediately. Money was not needed for our previous life. There's no situation where they buy things by themselves. So it's naturally zero. Currently, only one house. The jury has a hall. This is a high-end game. Is he a rich second generation with a simple mind? She immediately asked, Is the house in a commercial and prosperous area? Or a beautiful, peaceful, and comfortable villa area? Any? Shani and Wei recalled the place where they first met. It was a very quiet place. Not only could you see stars when you looked up, but also had a wide view. And occasionally there was a breeze. There were flowers blooming everywhere around. The lush vegetation was full of vitality. Lindsay immediately added that there are many tombstones around, and the way Niwei's hair was blown by the wind was so beautiful and moving, making people want to pounce on it instantly. Even the jury, who had professional training, couldn't help slapping the table. It's outrageous. Not only did he not have a penny, but also an open-air powder room. How could he find such a beautiful wife? Why can't I? It's really hateful. Besides, Miss Shaniwei is in that kind of place. Don't you feel creepy? Shaniwei turned to Lindsay gently. They hugged each other and said that what was buried there are all the most important memories of Lindsay, and as his wife, I will cherish it with him and create new memories. The jury felt more and more wrong. There are so many liars out there. Miss Shaniwei in front of us has no dissatisfaction with the man's conditions. It sounds like she was deceived. She directly stood up and asked Miss Shaniwei, Miss Shaniwei, you and Mr. Lindsay haven't known each other long, right? This question also made Shaniwei suddenly panic. How do you know we met for the first time yesterday? And got married on the first day? Because he has an irresistible open-air pink view room. I don't believe it, and neither does the jury of the Diyue church. They all suspected that Lindsay was seducing women, and they planned to take compulsory measures against him. As the evil god Shani, when hearing about the evil god's deception of women, she said subconsciously, she offered all the details to the fish. The incompetent mortal dared to mutter the fish's real name, kneel down and pray for the protection of the fish. Just getting into the state, she realized it. Oh, it's really bad. I forgot my identity and occasion. Is it really going to end like this? There's no way. I had to give birth to all the people in this city. Be reborn from the mother nest. There's no other way. The next second, tentacles gushed out from the floor behind Shani. At this moment, Lindsay stood up and started his performance. Dao, everyone, don't get me wrong. My wife is a demon hunter. It was on a snowy night. Nai Wei, who was just a child, witnessed the evil cultist's evil deeds. Blood stained the white snow. In short, after that night, Shaniwei suddenly rushed up and directly threw herself on Lindsay, covering his mouth, with a blush on her face, and nodded repeatedly, saying that's what happened. That's why she cared so much about the evil god. For the first time, he was so close to her. How could Lindsay just go up and... He said gently in her ear, because your hair makes me a little itchy. And my heart is even more itchy. Shani William blushed and dodged aside. Lindsay patted his head and said, "We are married." Why are you shy? The story is so vivid and abstract. The marriage officer, Maria, like watching a Korean drama, and cried bitterly, "I understand you. I understand. Because you must have suffered a lot. Then let me explain to you. The evil organization the Burning Fire cult has done. What they believe in is the Flame King who claims to be chaos. And the Flame King was helped by the great evil god, the help of the Dark Maker, and gained some power. But the Flame King's mind is not normal. He has a strong fetish for Lily, an idealism to create a kingdom with only girls. Therefore, those people, the cultists of the fire cult, in order to please the Flame King, they will use all kinds of methods to preach to those young girls and promote the lily fetish everywhere. They think lily are the most beautiful flowers in the world. They want to get married but have no money. A room costs 30 million yuan. Even with Lindsay's life, he can only buy a toilet. The inflation rate in this world is so terrifying. Having a house is just the first step. The annual income of the couple must reach 1 million. This is the minimum standard. Only in this way can they maintain their daily expenses. This is love. I love you. Although situations like Lindsay are rare, but it's not impossible to meet. The jury in the church immediately gave them a suggestion, suggesting that they become adventurers to earn bounties, then take out a loan to buy a house, and then register for marriage. The two left the church and walked on the street. Shaniwei grabbed Lindsay's sleeve and frowned. Why? Marriage. To spend more money than their own lives. To buy a house? Isn't this our business? Is it necessary to be so troublesome? Why not just dye these people all the color of fish and become fish so that everyone will bless us? He touched Shaniwei's head with both hands, which instantly calmed her down. Her voice was like spring with flowers blooming. So warm. I understand. But in my opinion, because from the moment I put the ring on and accepted my marriage proposal, we can't be separated. The various problems we are facing now do not affect our emotional bond at all. Now it's just too far from the city. We just need to adapt to it for a while. Being comforted like this, Shani felt extremely happy. A blush gradually appeared on her fair face and replied gently that she would listen to you. Then Lindsay used the magic of memory elimination to clean up the impact that Evely had just caused. The sky was getting dark. The two who came to the Adventurers Association just met. President. They learned that the receptionist Yuflei had been kidnapped by the fire worshippers. Now there is no way to become an adventurer normally. Hearing that it was the fire-burning cult again, Shaniwei clenched her fists. If this goes on, all the young girls in the city will be abducted by them. As a demon god would do such a thing that goes against morality, she turned around and was furious. She shouted angrily, "Let's just destroy their lair." Lindsay quickly stopped her and said, "We do need to deal with them. But our current task is not them." She smiled at the president again. "You said there is no way to apply through normal process. So what is the abnormal process?" The president frowned, and his face darkened, as expected of a young man. So sensitive. But it depends on strength. He married a new wife just because he loves having children. Now he is getting thinner and thinner to make money. He came to the Adventurers Association to work. What he didn't expect was that the guild's poster girl was taken away by the fire cult. Now he has to go through an abnormal process. According to the association's regulations, he needs to take 2 strict tests. The first attack, the branches shown by the crystal beside me, which will distinguish your strength. At this time, Lindsay was surrounded by a stream of light. He gathered magic power in his hand and punched the crystal. Just as the president was complacent, thinking how strong these 2 young people could be, there was a loud explosion behind him. The crystal shattered and scattered. The president, who was terrified by the earthquake, looked at all this in disbelief, stunned. Even Lindsay's hand was still smoking, showing the power of that punch. Shaniwei looked at the broken crystal, pouted and said, "Really? I wanted to test it out." Lindsay had no choice, so he had to comfort her. With a bang, Shani, who was excited, couldn't wait. She shouted to the president, "Let's start the second test quickly." She couldn't wait to start. The sweating president thought, "The young people are so scary." But the second test was to fight against me. He thought he would be beaten to death. He immediately clapped his hands and forced a smile to say, "Wonderful. It's wonderful. Your performance makes me admire you." Needless to say, please take the proof of silver and adventurer. I couldn't hear Shaniwe's question from the side. She took out a camera from nowhere. She wanted to take a photo of Lindsay and me. Shani, who seemed to pounce out at any moment, was still shouting for the test.